Welcome to the first lesson in our course, Finding the Lost Heart. I want to start by praising you for taking this step. It takes courage and perseverance to do this, especially when you're stuck in your life. So good for you. And I want to encourage you to praise yourself. You've taken this step, and you should feel proud. Now you're here because you're suffering, and you want your life to get better. You're not making the progress you want to in your life. Things are not working out the way you'd like them to. Maybe you're seeing your peers pass you by, or you've got problems that you just can't seem to solve or get out of. And things may be pretty bad right now. But the first, and maybe the most important lesson that I want to impart to you is that things don't have to be this way. You can grow in confidence, courage, strength. You can progress and achieve. You can get what you want in life. You can feel proud and good about yourself. You can have peace of mind. And you can have a prosperous, abundant, love-filled, fulfilling life. Everything you need to get all that is already inside of you. It's just hidden, and you just need to learn how to find it and bring it out. The problem isn't that you're broken or there's something wrong with you that can't be fixed or that this is just the way you are. The truth is, you just never got taught some fundamental truths about yourself, about life, reality, the universe, the way the whole thing works. And if you learned these things and use this understanding, your life would change immediately. And that's what we're going to do in this course. Let's say you got a new piece of software or technology and you never learned how to use it. And you kept trying to make it work, but there were no instructions. If that was the case, you'd be stuck. Now, once you watched the YouTube video that showed you how to work the thing, yeah, there'd be a bit of a learning curve, but then you'd get it, and you'd be able to make the thing work, right? And if something went wrong with the technology, if you understand troubleshooting, you'd know that there's always a reason why that thing doesn't work. Did you plug it in? Did you turn it on? Is the wire disconnected? These are probably things you say to your old parents. So if things aren't working in your life, there's a reason. And you can learn what that reason is. You can get the instruction manual for your life. And if you follow the instructions, you can get unstuck. You can make your life work. So what's in that instruction manual of life? And where did it come from? Now, one of the things that human beings can do that nothing else that we know about in the universe can do is to imagine what does not yet exist. Once people perceived that one thing was better than another, they left the cave and ate that berry and it tasted pretty good, and then they ate that mushroom and they got sick. So they knew one thing was better than another. Once they figured that out, we were able to conceive of the idea that if there is good and bad, there's also better, and if there's better, there must be the best. And so people started to ask themselves, what is a good way to live? Because of course we want a good life, whatever that means. And once we ask ourselves what's a good way to live, we can ask the question, what is the best way to live? And this is the big question that every philosophy and religion asks. And though each have their own spin on the question, and with the passage of time we see that nobody has gotten the answer perfectly right, what I've discovered from exploring many of these instruction manuals is that they all kind of say the same thing. And if you study this thing like I did, you begin to see patterns and how these patterns make sense. And then I tested this information on myself and with my therapy and coaching clients. And what I've discovered is that by and large, this information, when you get it, when you accept it, and when you use it, it works. Now the truth is, even though I'm going to present this in my unique way, I'm not making any of this up. I'm not the band. I'm just bringing you to the concert. Confucius, the great Chinese sage writing 2,500 years ago, said that he was merely the transmitter, not the creator of his wisdom. He got it from the folks who came before him. The great philosophers from ancient Greece, Plato and Socrates, didn't even believe they were teachers. They saw themselves as midwives. They believed we know everything in our heart already. We just have to remember it, to recognize it. The wisdom is in the universe. I'm just here to reveal what that secret wisdom is. So, what are those secrets? I spent many years searching for the psychological theory of everything. That is, was there a central problem that kept people stuck? Because if I could figure this out, maybe I could find the answer to how to get people unstuck. I searched everywhere. Science, philosophy, anthropology, psychology, myths, fairy tales, everywhere I could think of to look. And then one day, I discovered a quote by a guy named Mencius, who also lived about 2,500 years ago and was a disciple of Confucius. He was considered by many to be the wisest sage who ever lived, and for 1,000 years, every student in China studied his wise words. Now, when they say he was the wisest sage, what they mean is that he was tapped into that secret instruction manual of life about how human life works, and he had the best guidance on how to live your best life. Now, here's the quote that I found of Mencius. "Pity the man who has lost his path and does not follow it, and has lost his heart and does not go out and recover it. When people's dogs and chicks are lost, they go out and look for them. But when people's hearts or original nature are lost, they do not go out and look for them. The principle of self-cultivation consists in nothing but trying to find the lost heart." Now, when I discovered this quote, I knew I had found my answer. The problem is, you have a lost heart. And the secret to getting unstuck and having a great life is finding your lost heart. Let yourself feel that for a second. Now, that quote has been the seed for my work since then and has led to the creation of this course. In fact, I'm going to use that quote as a framework for this entire course and to reveal to you everything you need to know and do to get unstuck and live your great life. Everything you need is in that quote. It's simple. So the first thing that I will say is that the reason you're stuck is because you have a lost heart. Now all we have to do is answer the following questions. What is the heart? How do we lose the heart? What does it look like to have a lost heart? And most importantly, how do we find the heart again? Now I'm going to go deep into these questions, and this will give you all the information you need to understand why you're stuck and what you have to do to get free and get everything you want in life. But for now, I'm going to start with the basic secrets, and I'm going to give this to you in just a few minutes. And if you get this, you're really getting the whole thing. So the first question is, what is the heart? In order to answer this question, you need to understand an important word that I want to turn you on to, and that word is entelechy. Now, what entelechy means is that which you are meant to be. Now, what does this mean? Stay with me here. Entelechy was a word invented by another of those great Greek philosophers, a guy named Aristotle. Now, for those of you who don't know, and we don't have to say much about this right now, Aristotle was another of those guys who lived about 2,500 years ago. This was a time when many of our wisest people were really curious about discovering the laws of reality, the instruction manual for how to live your best life. And this guy Aristotle did a great job in figuring a lot of this stuff out. One thing he recognized was that living things grow and develop. They don't start out the way they end up. You plant an acorn, and it grows into an oak tree. So within that acorn lies the mighty oak tree. The acorn is potentially an oak tree. The thing that acorn is supposed to become, that tree, Aristotle called the oak tree that acorn's entelechy. Entelechy is that which some living thing which grows and develops is ultimately meant to become. The acorn's entelechy is the oak tree. Now we have an entelechy too. There's something that we're meant to be. But people are a little more complicated than oak trees. So figuring out what we're meant to be is a little more complicated. But don't worry, I'm going to make it simple, and you'll see what it is soon enough. Another way of saying what you're meant to be is saying this is what you're supposed to be if you fulfill your potential. If that acorn fulfills its potential, it becomes the tree. We can say that the acorn achieves its essential nature when it fulfills its potential and becomes what it's meant to be. As a living thing, as a human living thing, you're also something that grows and develops. You don't start out as a finished product. When you grow and develop, when you fulfill your greatest potential, you will achieve your essential nature, and you'll become what you're meant to be, which means you'll realize your entelechy. Now, what does this have to do with the heart? St. Augustine, another really bright guy who lived about 1500 years ago, said that, quote, "The heart is where I am, whatever I am," unquote. Now, what does this mean? One way of defining our essential nature is by saying, my essential nature is where I am, whatever I am. This is me. This is the real me. This is the true me. This is the most me that I can be. This is the me I'm meant to be. This is the best that I can be. This is the best that I can be. This is me when I fulfill my greatest potential. This is the best me. And so St. Augustine is saying that the place where we can find the true self, our essential self, the me that I'm supposed to be when I become what I'm supposed to be, the place of my entelechy. He says the place where we can find our essential self, our best self, he says, is the heart. So when I say you're not broken, the way you are now is not just the way you are. What I mean is, you are just in a process of growth and development towards becoming your best self. And if everything's working right, you would naturally continue to develop toward becoming what you're meant to be, which is your best self. And if you're stuck, it means that there's something that's getting in the way of your natural development toward realizing your full potential, becoming what you're meant to be, or achieving your entelechy. So if St. Augustine tells us the place where we can find our essential self, our best self, the realization of our greatest potentials, is our heart, then that thing that's getting in your way, the reason you're not realizing your potentials, not having the great life that you're meant to have, is what our Chinese sage Mencius calls having a lost heart. So having a lost heart means that you're stuck and not growing in the way you should towards becoming your best self. So the next question is, how do you find the lost heart? That is, what do you need to do to get unstuck, to allow the natural development towards becoming what you're meant to be, towards getting everything you want in life, towards finding peace of mind and fulfillment? Here, Mencius gives us a clear answer. He says, the principle of self-cultivation consists in nothing but trying to find the lost heart. That is, the way to find the lost heart is to self-cultivate. So the way to get unstuck, to become everything you're meant to be, and to get everything you want in life, is to self-cultivate. Now, what does that mean? Well, let's start with the word cultivate. Cultivate comes from agriculture. See the similarity? Cultivate, agriculture, culture. So think for a minute about agriculture. People figured out laws of nature. They figured out the best way to make plants grow. And when they figured this out, it was suddenly much easier to have food. You didn't have to go out and live on the few nuts and berries you could find, or go out for days and try to hunt down some animal that you might not even catch. We figured out the laws of nature, and this led to the explosion of humanity. Civilizations developed, and people got bigger, stronger, smarter. Populations grew. This led to an insight, a truth about reality. If there were laws of nature that we could depend on, that worked, that made things better, then maybe we could figure out the laws of human nature. And if we could figure out those laws of reality, of how everything worked, then maybe, just like we figured out how to make plants realize their greatest potential and become the best plants that they could be, we could figure out how to become our best selves. If we could find that instruction manual, there'd be no limit to what we could achieve and become. There are laws of nature or reality. It's like we saw that birds could fly. They all seem to know how to do it. There were consistent laws of nature, laws of reality, that made it possible for birds to fly. And if we could figure out what those rules were, couldn't we fly? So we finally figured out the laws of aerodynamics, and now we can fly across the ocean at crazy speeds and be halfway around the world in a half a day. So whether what we're doing is growing crops or flying, there must also be laws of nature or reality about how to become what we're meant to be, our best selves, so that we could live our best lives. And if we could figure these out and figure out how to take advantage of these laws, how to live in harmony with them, we could maximize our potential. We could fulfill our entelechy. We understand what it means to cultivate crops. But what does it mean to self-cultivate? Well, here's another weird, unique thing about humanity. We're the only creatures in the universe that we know about that can participate in cultivating ourselves. We can figure out what the best way is for us to grow and develop so that we can realize, fulfill our entelechy. That is, become what we're meant to be, which means becoming our best selves and getting all we want in life. So to self-cultivate means that we don't need some farmer to do it. We can figure out the laws of reality, and then we can follow them ourselves. We participate in our own process of growth and development in order to become our best self. Now you might ask, why do we get stuck? Why doesn't this thing just happen on our own? Why then do we need to get ourselves unstuck? Or what is the answer to the question, how do we lose the heart? The simple answer is that for the acorn to become the oak, it needs the proper sunlight, soil, and water. Just like in agriculture, we figure out what the plant needs to grow and we give that to the plant. Unfortunately, for reasons that I'll go into as we go along, none of us receive the optimal, the best, the perfect, emotional sunlight, soil, and water in our upbringing, so our natural process of growth gets interfered with. Now, clearly this has been going on for a long time, because if Mencius wrote about having a lost heart 2,500 years ago, it's been going on for a long time. This is a human problem. We all struggle with this. But there is a solution, and that is, now we have to self-cultivate. And the reason you remain stuck and haven't fixed this yet is because you haven't had this information. You haven't understood this, and you haven't had the instruction manual. You haven't been taught the laws of reality. Or maybe you haven't accepted the laws of reality yet, or or embrace them. But once you get the information about how you work and nature works, how the universe works, and you learn how to employ the methods of self-cultivation, once you create the proper conditions for your own growth, then you free up this natural process of becoming exactly what you're meant to be. And when you do that, you fulfill your potential, and that's what gives you the experience of fulfillment. And when you do that, just like the cultivated plant, you flourish, you bloom like the flower, you get what you want in life. So there it is. I told you you'd get the big secret in no time. To summarize, the heart is everything you're meant to be. It's you at your best. It's the fulfillment of your greatest potentials. Being stuck is what it looks like to have a lost heart. We lose the heart, or the ability to realize our greatest potentials, because we did not receive the best cultivation in our upbringing. And the way to find the heart, to become what we're meant to be, is to self-cultivate. Now, in order to self-cultivate, what I'm going to give you is that instruction manual. I'm going to teach you the laws of reality as best as I've been able to learn them, and exercises of how to self-cultivate. I'm going to show you what the human entelechy is. That is, we'll learn what it is that we're meant to be, and what you need to do in order to realize your full potentials, get what you want, and find joy, prosperity, abundance, for you to become the mighty oak and to find fulfillment. So let's do it. Now, since we're going to toggle between understanding and action, between theory and method, between knowing and doing, now that you've watched this video, I'm going to send you the next pathway so you can get started right away in practicing self-cultivation. As always, if you have any thoughts or questions, please don't hesitate to ask or let me know. You're on your way. Keep going. And thanks for listening.